Welcome to this episode of the Structural Engineering Channel, a podcast focused on helping structural engineering professionals stay up to date on technical trends in the field and to help them succeed in their careers and lives. In this episode, we will be talking with John Lazier, professional engineer, MBA, structural engineer, and developer at Lazier Engineering Partners, about his journey on how he became a structural engineer and developer and how he ensures safety and regulatory standards on drawings. He also provides some great tips about pursuing a career in structural engineering and development. I'm your co-host, Matt Picardle.
And I'm your co-host, Rachel Holland. Now let's jump into our conversation of the week with John.
Restarting your career when you are over 40 is no joke. But I was welcomed at Simpson, and I found a second family here. When you walk in and you see and you feel the culture at Simpson, it's very warm, it's very inviting, it's nothing like you've ever felt. Having the flexibility to be home gave me the opportunity to not miss anything. Simpson really does see your value. They see the value in everyone who's there.
Hi, John. Welcome to the show. Can you tell us about your background and how you became a structural engineer and a developer?
Yes, well, thanks for having me, first of all. And yes, I started 2008 at Western University in Ontario, Canada here. And yeah, I took structural engineering for about 4 years, graduated there, worked in various industrial and commercial sectors. I've done high-rise design, stadium designs, anywhere from residential to commercial and industrial work. And yeah, I ended up starting my own about 2017 and developing my network as a structural engineer. And I found I started to also become a developer and a lobbyist for the Ontario government. So your network just takes you in different directions, and that's what happened to me. So.
Cool.
You kind of have your hands in little different areas of it all. It's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
you have to kind of control the project and help your client the way I do best, and I don't just do the engineering and stop. If they need more help, I help them. If they're from another country and they want to build something here, I help them with the construction. I help them with the financing. I can help them with the government approvals and rezoning of the lands. I just do what I can to help, and that led me to my career, right?
Yeah, that's really interesting because it looks like I know structural engineers don't have too much experience with the developer part. How does the developer aspect play into the business and what services, or how does that help the architect out as well?
Well, I mean, every project's different. So I have projects such as a Brampton project coming up, which is going to be a new cricket stadium. Now, I'm part of a consortium that I sit on the board of directors, and I start from scratch, from getting the land to lobbying with the Brampton City Council to getting the project on the go. We have other consultants that help with this as well, but I do the structure in the end. But I've learned so much about the whole process that I can help these developers, and I know so many of them that I can bring them on board for financing when the time comes, and that sort of thing. So it's just a mixed bag of what I was interested in, and I enjoy networking and going to parties and going to dinners and meeting with the Premier of Ontario and his MPs and ministers, and just learning how everything works. I like to know how everything works rather than just stay in my lane. So, and that's the benefit of being an entrepreneur and being on your own, is that if you work for a company, you're kind of restricted in that regard. You're not really allowed to go to certain parties. You're, just an engineer. So I like to think an engineer is more things. An engineer is a politician, is a businessman, is a developer in some sense, depending on what stake you have. If you don't have money, you could use sweat equity, is what I call it. You could do your services up front and then for a percentage of the project later. So that's how I started becoming a developer. And then you get money and you can put your own money into it and you build from there, right?
Very cool. I like hearing how you kind of got started. That's an interesting way to go about it. I like that. How do you ensure that your drawings, the drawings that you guys produce, meet the necessary safety and regulatory standards?
Well, I mean, it's based on experience and following the codes, as well as the steel codes, the concrete code, wood codes for structural engineering particularly, and also experience with designing these in the past and working with the cities and the various municipalities, the various requirements of the sites, the site conditions, soil conditions, a combination of all those parts of the puzzle, and following the code and your experience with design would meet the safety requirements structurally. And there's also mechanical, electrical components to the building that we also do in our other departments, which would follow things like life safety and making sure there's exiting requirements and doors open when the fire alarm goes off, things of that nature. So there's a lot of safety requirements, and it is in the code as well as it is in people's experience and sort of common sense, right?
And what were some of the biggest challenges as a developer and engineer? It seems like engineering has enough problems in itself, but now you're adding in all these other disciplines and bigger scope. What were some of the challenges that may be unique to those?
Well, I found that I wanted to expand my network, and I wanted to work on things that were um, more prestigious, as well as regular sort of high rises, regular residential and office buildings. I wanted to work on something that got my name out there, such as a stadium. So I saw an opportunity with a group called Peg in Hamilton, who were leasing a Cops Coliseum, or First Ontario Center, which is a stadium in Hamilton that's going to be renovated. And I got in touch with them through a meeting of mutual connections, and yeah, I started to work with them on the trusses and that sort of stuff. They gave me an opportunity, and I found that in order to get those opportunities, you have to give something as well. You can't just be sort of one guy in a hat to pick out of a hat. You have to offer something. So I offer things such as financing for them with other connections of mine. I offered lobbying with the Ontario government on other projects. I offered a lot of meetings and introductions to other people of my network I knew, which you give some and you get some. So then they hired me for the project, and then we ended up getting along well, and forming another consortium for the Brampton Cricket Stadium coming up soon. So there's a few projects that we're going to be partnering on with them and the same group from Peg in Hamilton for the Coliseum.
That sounds like an exciting project. It's going to be, I mean, that's going to be a lot of people working on it.
Yeah, yeah, it's going to be pretty prestigious. A couple partnerships that to make that happen, but the Coliseum is happening now, and particularly the Brampton project is going to be a similar model to that, where we get land from the Brampton City Council, and to develop a brand new stadium. So it's going to be interesting to see who's interested in that and finding the financing for that and designing it. So it's a few exciting projects coming up, and we have a lot of other stuff coming down the pipeline too, that are really big and prestigious, as well as day-to-day work that we do that is sort of less prestigious, I suppose.
When you are looking at all these big projects and how you run your business, how do you see your work contributing to job creation in Canada?
Oh, big time. I mean, long term, politically, I'm involved with some politicians who want to become developers, such as Mayor Fred Eisenberger from Hamilton here. He was the previous mayor. He just stepped down for retirement, and we partnered with Jasper Kuchevsky, who does the HUPEG with the Cops Coliseum. We're going to be doing what we call a version of the Hudson Yards from New York City. We're going to be doing it in Hamilton over the CN rail lands, and that's going to be huge for Hamilton, because it's going to be an elevated slab with high rises on it and a whole community and a central sort of downtown Hamilton off to the on the harbor side of things. So we don't actually have a city center at the moment. It's going to be high rises. It's going to be turned into high rises in the center. So it's just been sold and shut down as of December. So we actually have no city center, and this will be the new city center within the next sort of 10 years. So that's another thing that's going to be sort of announced maybe in the next 6 months or so when we get that consortium sorted out. So that's basically our goal, is to help politically and engineering wise to revamp Hamilton and make it a better place for everyone. So there's a lot of things going on already in Hamilton on top of these projects that is just in combination is going to be pretty monumental for the economy and helping people get jobs, construction as well as other jobs. There's going to be new malls, that sort of thing. So Hamilton's going to be back on the map, so I'd say another 10 to 15 years for sure.
Yeah, very cool. It's having impact on different scales in terms of, as a developer, you're making that project happen, but also as engineers, you're engineering it. So I think that's pretty cool how yeah, you're pretty much in all the steps on how to get like a building up there and how to help the community. And
Mm-hmm.
I think from your perspective, getting it all the way from the developer aspect all the way to the engineering and then to the construction, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's very helpful for them, as for everyone as well. That's why they've started to bring me on to these bigger projects and partner with me, is that I can tell you what's feasible or not. I can look at the soils information for the harbor project and tell you, yes, we can do this. Whereas a lot of people spend a lot of money preliminarily doing these renderings, getting funds with their dreams, and they discover that they can't actually do it because it costs too much or it's not even feasible at all. Having structural engineering and architecture on your side from the beginning stages is helpful in saving time and pointing you in the right direction to make sure the project can be done. So that's why I found that it's very useful to be on the starting end of things as well as the finishing end.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned a lot of cool projects already. Are there any projects that you're particularly proud of, and what makes them stand out from the rest for you?
Oh, I'd say the biggest sort of lifelong project is going to be the harbor development project. If you look online about Hudson Yards in New York City, how they did a big platform on top of the existing rail yards,
Oh yeah.
you'll learn
Mhm.
more about how that's done. And to partner with the former mayor and Jasper Kuchowski on this project is uh, is probably going to be the highlight of my career for sure. And it's going to take a long time, but it's a very exciting project to bring development to Hamilton, to the city I was born in, to make it back to what it used to be. The trajectory it was on post World War II, and we kind of got lost for a little bit, a couple decades there, and people sort of forgot about Hamilton. But we're going to be back in line with Toronto and the rest of the cities in no time, right?
Awesome.
How do you go about, like, do you have any strategies that you use to go about staying current with like the latest trends, or like continuing education, like growing professionally? What do you personally do?
I'd say hire people that are better than you. Don't be afraid to um, partner with other firms and partner with other construction companies that are on the up and up to learn more. It doesn't mean that they're going to take the project away from you or that you're going to lose money just by trying to keep everything in house. I'd say be open to partnerships, and if you can't learn it on your own, because it's with experience, hire the people that are good at that part of the project, and always hire people that are smarter than you.
Very good advice.
Yeah, and I had a follow-up question, I guess, to one of the. Seems like you're, the entrepreneur, and I noticed you have your MBA as well, right? So,
Correct.
did
Yep.
the MBA help you in any way in terms of that, or was it just kind of like figuring out your own way, getting creative, networking? I guess, how did the MBA help you?
I think it helped in the sense that it was an international program I went to in Dubai, and I met one student was from a different country all around the world, and I saw a different perspective on multiculturalism, and I'm very supportive of diversity in the office place and using different perspectives other than the same old sort of status quo. So I think it really opened up my eyes to what I needed to do in terms of becoming an entrepreneur after 2016 or 2017, starting my business up, having the freedom to go to another country or even sub out some work to another country and just thinking outside the box and having that freedom of an entrepreneur to think and innovate is really what changed after that is, and also the typical running of a company, the accounting, etc., business development, a couple of tools there that you can use, but mainly I think it's just the freedom to think and innovate as opposed to sitting at a company where your goal is to do things faster and cheaper, right?
Mhm.
So that's so interesting.
And
You actually moved to Dubai for your MBA program was it 2 years or a
It
year?
was an accelerated program, it was just over a year.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
interesting. Very cool.
Yeah, it was a great time. I liked Dubai. I golfed at the Emirates course about twice a week, and
oh, cool.
I was kind of like a member there. So I got to meet people that are in the business in different businesses around the world, different perspective on things. But in the end, I found home was where my heart was, and I'm using those skills to help Hamilton, right?
Yeah. Did you, for engineers that want to get into development, do you have any advice for them that kind of want to see where and how a project starts to get into that field?
I'd say be open to sweat equity, the idea of sweat equity, if you can, because that's one way to get involved in a project is to do designs or preliminary designs at minimal cost, if you can, to help a partner and sign on to a project for a percentage later on. If you have that option, that's a good way to make money and save the money because you get the paid later, right? So if you have that opportunity, I'd say explore that opportunity. Also get involved with your local government, learn how to rezone lands, how things work. Just generally be open and don't be too judgmental. Don't just you know take on people's work and listen to what they have to say and until you find something that is works for you.
Thank you so much for providing insightful information today. If listeners wanted to connect with you, what would be the best way to do that?
Yeah, you can reach me by email, or you could look me up on my website, Lazier Engineering, all one word.com. It's Lazier engineering.com, and then my email is directly on there. And yeah, you can look at my webpage. If you have any questions, just send me an email.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John.
No problem.
Yeah,
Thanks for
appreciate it.
having me on.
I hope you enjoyed the episode today. We would love to hear your feedback, comments, and or questions. To leave them, please visit structuralengineeringchannel.com. There you will find a summary of the key points discussed in today's episode, which is episode number 99, as well as links to any of the resources or websites mentioned during this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to the podcast. Until next time, we wish you the best in all your structural engineering endeavors.